Alright, the short squeeze 2.0, the MOASS, I guess. And I'm looking at GameStop here. I'm going to start with this. But I'm going to I'll look at the general market, Tesla, and then there's a whole other stack of stocks that have high short interest that may be interesting here. But as far as making a bottoming call here, GameStop is the first big mover. Tesla just kind of moved. The S&P is maybe trying to break out, but we'll take a look at all of this. Please smash the like button, and yeah, let's just take a look at GameStop. So, I mean, GameStop did this kind of bottom in COVID. It was no big deal. It's not really following the market, but kind of is. And this bear market here that blew off in November, we had a lot of, especially like NASDAQ kind of tech stocks that started blowing off here in November, December. And GameStop is one of the only ones that was coming down, and it rallied out like back in March, which yeah, there was a little pop. We'll take a look at like the NASDAQ and the S&P. Like this is sort of following it. It had the crazy blow off here, but without that, in any case, GameStop is the first stock to show my bottoming pattern I've been talking about. Like my last 6 videos, I've been talking about this as a bottoming area, and most stocks bottomed where I called it here and put in a higher low, especially materials, minerals, miners, those kind of stocks I'll put in a higher low. GameStop was one of the ones that did it as well. Actually, all the stocks I'm looking at bottomed where I called it and bounced up, but the NASDAQ itself put in a lower low. So I guess like Apple probably put in a lower low there. But in any case, GameStop, yeah. I mean, GameStop broke its downtrend in March, tagged here just a single tap, and picked up this channel with a higher low. And so, yeah, I mean, I'm calling a big bottom, and I wouldn't be surprised to see a big flagpole. Let me look at targets on GameStop. I called a bunch of stuff, and I wasn't even thinking about calling up GameStop right here, just because it's flopping around and acting weird. I just kind of lost interest in it, but we do have the bullish trend that we just broke through and back tested, which looks bad. But it's an obvious upside target, which is up here at like 250. There's a horizontal area with a ton of action. We have sort of the bubble trend line that you could backtest again. But if we get on top of that, I mean, if we threw a flagpole up on top and picked up support on top of all of this stuff here, I mean, you could be setting up a big move there. And if it's going to put in half a channel bar on a daily, I mean, it takes a week to get there. Not that I think it's going to continue to just rip up like that, but I mean, it's done that kind of stuff before. Like throw a flagpole and then throw another one. Like some kind of move like this, if it jumps on top of all the support and starts ripping, yeah. Anyway, this is the first stock to show a big move off of my bottoming area, and I didn't have a position. I mean, I think I have some GameStop shares actually in an account that I wasn't thinking about, but I did not like call GameStop here. That was not my call, but I'll look at some stuff that I did call. Anyway, GameStop, first big mover on what I think is going to be a big, probably month and a half rally. Now, just looking at the general market, on the S&P, we have this downtrend, and I've seen a couple people drawing this kind of wedge and saying like we may be breaking out of the wedge, which is okay. If you go back to, oh, I don't even remember which video. Let's go back and watch like the last couple of my videos. But I went and looked at the topping pattern on a couple of charts, especially like the Great Depression topping pattern that did this exact thing. Like it did the cone shape thing that we did back from like Volmageddon to COVID. Then it jumps on top of the cone, and then it does this topping pattern where it comes down bearish like this, and then it starts building up. It starts bouncing in a topping cone pattern, right? and then there's a slingshot to the top on the fourth one. But this is kind of what I'm looking at here. Is I'm expecting a rally, and you can see here the rally is faster than the decline, so we might see like a pretty fast rally, and I'll definitely be closing it in this top of the cone area in a hurry, and looking at playing the short side if that happens. But in any case, this is just the S&P, and you know, this is a pretty clear area on the downtrend where we might bounce. But see, we've already started building up bounces upwards. So yeah, anyway, if that pattern plays out, this could be a really powerful month coming up here. And that leads me to Tesla, which has been sort of doing this pattern. Oh, and this, right, this is like March-ish, right? So GameStop sort of rallied out at the same time this did. The rest of the pattern isn't exactly following it, but it does kind of follow this. Like GameStop started pulling down, and then it did a rally. It did a rally here. So GameStop is sort of following this pattern, and it is breaking out with this breakout, and it ripped really hard. So we'll see if we get a pullback in here. But yeah, let me jump over to Tesla, which is definitely doing this pattern. Although it's a little bit sloppier on Tesla. I couldn't really find... And I think that's the bottom on Tesla there. So you can see that Tesla made a lower low after my bottoming call, and after this tail it made another lower low. And so the NASDAQ and Tesla have been the weaker sector, and we'll see how strong the NASDAQ tries to come back in. But you can see Tesla may be breaking out of the downtrend. It's not a super clear trend, and you know, this line is not a bunch of perfect reactions like the S&P. This is really sloppy. There's a big break here, but you can see the same pattern here. I mean, we broke out of the downtrend. It's the same timeline. It's following, you know, following the money. What happened to my tool? Here we go. Yeah, same kind of thing. So if Tesla does a big bounce here, which I think is likely, I don't know how. I mean, if it does that kind of topping shape, which I don't think it probably will do that, but I mean, that's like way up here. Yeah, it wouldn't really surprise me if it went up here, but I have like July-ish time frame as where I think the S&P would probably be getting to the top of a bounce like that. So I'm just trying to put targets on some charts here as to what I think it might run up to. So we're starting from a little above 600, and this has been a big channel on Tesla, so I think that's a good target. And none of this is financial advice, always, of course. I'm not a financial advisor. I just like to draw charts and do mathematical patterns. But yeah, I think this is going to be big resistance here. There's just a ton of reaction on this line, and just like GameStop, if we rallied hard on top of this stuff, especially if we did it quickly before the S&P is up near a topping pattern, like Tesla and GameStop are both rallying early. If they can get above this stuff, I mean, yeah, that target wouldn't shock me, and I would definitely be shorting that if we got up to here. But yeah, anyway, yeah, Tesla and GameStop are moving. They look really cool. I wanted to check out a couple other stocks that have some short interest. Sens, this is Senseonic, is just close here. But this is a pretty volatile stock that I've been interested in trying to find a spot to go long on. And so I think that this probably will rally too. You know, and it's around $1. So a 2x move, I mean, you know, stocks like this size can put in a 2x move in a day. And also down onto the downside. Just highly volatile, like crazy stock. But I just like the setup on this. Also, I'm in Mexico City. I don't know if I said that. But there's a little bit of traffic noise out here. But let me go down to my short interest list that I have down at the bottom, which there's a couple of stocks. This guy in particular this is the stock with the highest short interest that I could find. But GameStop's short interest, I think, is about 27% or something right now. It's high enough to be back on the short interest list. Tesla, I don't think, has a whole bunch of short interest at the moment. It's more of like a, market leading kind of stock. But this thing, Sky Harbor Group, they rent hangars, like private airplane hangars, to rich people. And it's weird because it went dead flat at like $10. And then it got a bunch of short interest and like had this big, pop in March. And that's when that first kind of breakout happened and stuff flipped over. And now, I think this could be a cool spot. It's not really following much, but it did rally when the market rallied in March. There was that little bump, and this got pretty volatile, 5 to 40. And yeah, I mean, I think this one, if this got a short squeeze, and the general idea is, you get like a breakout rally, you get some more bank and institutional money that comes in, so you get a breakout, then you get a short squeeze, and then you get like the FOMO rally and probably a blow off top. That's what I'm expecting, and I think that could all happen in a month or two. But anyway, this one has very high short interest, and it does not, I think it does have call options, but they're really dumb. I looked at them, and it really doesn't have enough interest to have them. But anyway, that's a very high short interest stock. I forget what the number was, but it was much higher than everything else. Workhorse is not one of the highest short interest. I think it's like 30%, but it just has a really good technical pattern. And this is in the NASDAQ, so I've been saying that the NASDAQ is not going to be a leading sector on this bounce. Although we just saw Tesla and the NASDAQ put in pretty good candles today. So I don't know, we may get another whole rally of NASDAQ and meme stock stuff. Like, maybe we're not past that. But in any case, this thing has done a huge descending wedge breakout right on a horizontal area. Did the upward W, which is a great pattern. You can see across a ton of charts. You'll see this upward W everywhere. If you rally up off an upwards W, it kind of gives you the angle of your bullish run. And you jump on top and take off. So Workhorse is a cool one just because it's also pretty cheap. And just like getting up to the area where you're back testing, you're going from less than $3 to more than $10. So you can go 3x or more, and it's not really that big of a deal. So just percentage-wise gains on sort of trading options or something like that. Some of these small stocks, you can get a much bigger return on percentage, than trying to trade Tesla. And those options are expensive, $10,000 or so per option, depending on what you're trying to buy. Beyond Meat is another one that had pretty high short interest. I don't remember what it was, like 35. All of these stocks had about somewhere in the range of like 25 to 40% short interest. And this chart it looks awful, but when things go vertically down, they tend to get a rebound at least. But I'm not trading this thing. It is in the NASDAQ. It's super ugly, but it is very high short interest. If you get a bounce and you get a short squeeze, who knows, any of these stocks could rally pretty hard. Especially, you just see like a downtrend here and you get far away from that downtrend with a vertical move. It's really easy to just bounce back up to that downtrend, which could be like a 2x move here. Semi-interesting. HRTX, Heron, it's the same chart just about. And you have this sort of sharp downtrend here that you've gotten away from, which is it's a good target on an up move. If you're just trying to play a random market bounce that could squeeze, you have this kind of a line here, which is, a smaller stock, 3 to whatever, 6 or something, maybe like a 2x, but you could get a bounce to there pretty easily. For anyone that's trying to trade like a week or 2 week kind of time frame here, you could get, just a rally into resistance and then just worry about it later, close everything. Sava, I've done a few videos on this stock, and this thing is kind of crazy. It's all over the place. This is Cassava Sciences. and it just did a lower low that's pretty NASDAQ looking, and it's put in a good rally like this whole week. So, you know, and you have this huge gap here, and we have this battle between a downtrend line and an uptrend line, and so yeah, this could be a really cool one. This has high short interest, and it's very close to, if it just breaks out on top of here. These channels are pretty big. I mean, you know, rallying across this channel is more than a 2x move. So yeah, same kind of thing. You break out of this downtrend and pick up the uptrend here, pick up the channel. This chart is it's been respecting the technicals pretty well. So this is an interesting one to trade. It's not super cheap, but I mean, it's not like $1,000 a share or something like Tesla where the options are crazy expensive. It's easy enough to trade that thing. And then we have several stocks like Arcimoto, I think, is the short interest one that I forgot to put in here. Or it's down here, okay. Anyways, Blink Charging, you know, has this huge gap. Looks ugly. Didn't really put in a higher bottom, so like, I don't love that. But it's another short interest stock that, who knows, like any one of these could randomly just rip to the upside if short squeeze stuff starts happening. Beam, I mean, maybe this whole thing is an uphill kind of W thing. Like this is the March pop, so this is kind of following the market. And where do we blow off? January, February, yeah, so this one blew off really early. This is where a lot of the small high-risk stocks started blowing off with Feb last year. And then you have like the October, November top. So a lot of stocks did this, either made a lower high, like blew off in Feb, and then again in November. And this one did that, which is a NASDAQ kind of thing to do. And then you get the rally in, you know, the little March flip, and not much technicals to go on. But this one is following the general market trading pattern pretty well. So, and it's NASDAQ. So that could be an interesting one. For anyone that likes a NASDAQ rally, this is a smaller stock that probably will follow the general NASDAQ trend, but also has the chance for a short squeeze if it starts going. So that's an interesting one. This thing is a mess. Cortisone. And so it's a medical name, but it's in the NASDAQ, and this is just, it's just a mess. But you do have a giant gap. Yeah. Good luck with that. It's not really following anything, and it's hideous. But it does have high short interest. Yeah, Intercept Pharmaceuticals. It looks like it's bull flagging. It's not following the market at all. It looks like it did a decent bottoming pattern. It's bull flagging. So, I mean, the chart looks, it looks okay. High short interest, and kind of, you know, it just looks like it's making higher lows and bull flagging. You could throw a generic kind of, well, I like, when you get these uphill W patterns, I like to throw a line across the bottom of the coil. Like it'll stab, and then it will coil, and then it will stab. And that coil usually gives you the angle the stock is trying to go in general. And yeah, you have like this stab right here. This is actually pretty good. This is a good little mini lesson on an uphill W. So you see how it stabs here, and then it coils. So you stab through it, coil, stab through it, coil, right? And then once again we hop on it, and now we've got a higher low. So this is all very good. I've been coloring this kind of situation with cyan lately. And then you can try to establish like a sort of like a bubble trend line. So this is like a bullish bubble trend line that could be setting up here. And every time you come into support, you have the possibility of a flagpole, just a vertical rip to the upside, which is great for call options, or busting this line and making a mess. So we just jumped off this line. It looks pretty good, actually. And Intercept Pharmaceuticals, I don't know, it's in the NASDAQ, but it's medical, so this is a whole different kind of thing. But this is an interesting chart pattern that could hold up, and then you could take these and try to make bull channels. It's not very steep, but it does look like it is making an up move. And then I don't know if there's any areas up here that are, and it has plenty of room to move up. It's pretty crazy, actually. Yeah, that's a big bearish pattern, but not much of a breakout. It just kind of went sideways, but it did put up an uphill W, and I think we might have some weak bull channels here, so yeah, whatever. Anyway, short interest, and the chart is actually bullish even though it looks weak. And this one's Ocugen, which is just nutty. It's just straight up crazy. But it is kind of it did sort of the November thing, right, and a little rally. It is sort of following the market a little bit, but this thing's just out of control. And it does big gapping moves, and so this one may be an interesting one. Like, you can see the freaking jumping, like, candles it can put in. So yeah, I don't know, this one could, I don't know, this one could put in a crazy candle if we get some short squeeze activity, and this one does it. That's a cool one. Yeah, I don't know. That's a possibility. OCG, and that's Ocugen. And this one is CTRN, which is City Trends. This thing is just, what in the world is that? It's like a water slide or something. Yeah, I don't know. I don't even know what the name of that kind of pattern is. But it did just rally a little bit with our rally today. It's one of the actual bigger rallies across a bunch of the stocks. So maybe this is interesting. $30 is not exactly a penny stock. I don't know what the overhead thing on this. I don't like this chart. I don't know how to even draw on this or try to trade it, but that one, you know, these are, I think most of these are around 20-something% short interest. It's not a crazy amount, but it's interesting to see the stocks that have short interest as you get like that pop on GME. It's like, oh, okay, wait, there's more money here. Like, what caused that huge move on GME? You know, people are starting to throw more money into the market, and maybe people don't know where it's coming from, but you don't have to. You just know that it's coming in. So, yeah, anyway, this is maybe getting near support. Hasn't really broken out, so I don't love this chart right now, but also high short interest, and you know, all of these type of stocks could rally, and the ones with high short interest could get sudden explosions to the upside. Cons. Yeah, this is another one that just like super dumped, but it got a pretty big bounce today. So maybe it's interesting. That chart is just super ugly and hasn't broken out, so good luck with that guy. And then I don't think I can get to this one down here. I don't even know what it is. It's like blocked by my image, but that's okay. That's all right. Let me look at the IWM, because I know the NASDAQ put in a decent candle today, which is interesting. Like, as the S&P is breaking out, the NASDAQ may be breaking out together, so we may see the NASDAQ hold on. Let me just scroll up. I'm trying to use the internet connection in this hotel, and it's lagging. Alright, so this is the NAS, and so it has a similar pattern to what the S&P did. It just pulled down, and then it did the bounce out right in March, and then the bottom The S&P and the NAS came down here. The NAS basically pulled the S&P down to this bottom, but the NAS is trying to break out now, and you can see the green candle today, and it hasn't really started moving after hours yet. But this is a pretty good pattern. When you get that resistance, you break out of it and you land on top of it. That's generally a good spot where you can get a bounce. That in itself doesn't indicate that you're going to be like going to highs or something. But if you see July or something, even if we just come up and back check the channel and don't get back up in it, that's still an all-time high on the NASDAQ. So that's not a big deal, and it can get up there a lot faster than it came down, because that was like 4 or 5 months of bearish crap. Right, yes, the Russell, which I like to use to sort of look at margin loan, basically. Russell is like a more accurate chart than any margin loan stuff you'll find, because all the random loans to random hedge funds and stuff that you're not going to see on all the margin loan charts, they'll show up on here, because there's a lot of financials in here, and there's also just a lot of small caps, and so this thing moves with the money flows really well. Whereas, something like the S&P or the NASDAQ is led by a few huge stocks, and so it gets the movement of sort of the big money, but not really the whole margin loan hedge fund stuff. Like the IWM is a lot closer to like the hedge fund money, and like the S&P is closer to everyone's like retirement fund or something. But yeah, in any case, we have the same kind of flip on this, and we have an uphill W on these, which is good, and a good candle on this one too. So we'll see if this holds, especially like GameStop. Now that it did a pop move like that, it becomes really interesting, because I wasn't thinking the meme stocks that blew off last year, especially like February last year, are going to rally so hard, but maybe they will. Yeah, I don't know. That could be cool. I guess just to look back at the S&P here, there is this little area right here which we need to get through. So, we've done a couple false breakouts on the way down, so just sticking a candle out of here is not that big of a deal. But what is a big deal is we hopped on top of our bull channel and bounced. So now we're in the bull channel. So if we pull back to here, that's going to be a lot of support. And as soon as we get up, this red line is the previous cone. That's like the top of the touches from the COVID cone, which I guess I could just zoom out and show you what that looks like. Why not? Yeah, so this topping pattern, almost exactly like this, happened in the Great Depression top, where you rally up and you do one cone shape like this, and then don't make it to the bottom on this stab. That's the same thing, and then you jump out of the top of the cone, you land on top of the cone, and that's the red cone that I'm talking about. And once you land on top of that red cone, you go straight into the topping pattern, which is another cone, and it's actually just about the same width as this cone. So you can see like the bounces get wider and wider and wider, and then that happens the same way on the second cone, which we just came in, and we just did little bounce, and then we should do a wider bounce, and then we should know the angle of it. And once we see the next bounce, we'll be able to recognize the pattern pretty clearly, and calling this stab up would be pretty cool. But also you'll have a line that goes to pretty much where the top of the market should be, and I don't know exactly where the line is. It's somewhere in here ish, and people will be freaking out. If it goes, if it rallies now, people are going to start getting bullish, and then it's going to crash in their face. Maybe it holds here. I don't think so. I think we stab down and pick this downtrend up again. And from there, you slingshot, and then you start rallying up to the top. And I think once we got up here, people would be ridiculously bullish, and that's where you get awful. Like, that's the huge down move, and then a huge bounce. I mean, it gets crazy. Like, the topping patterns in these kind of things are absolutely crazy. Yeah, anyway, that's just the idea that I have right now. Is I think we're just starting a new cone, and I think we should rally up to the top of it. And the momentum is not really agreeing with that plan yet, although we did get momentum crossovers on most of the charts already by today or yesterday. So we're down here. This center line is bear territory. We are down in bear territory pretty far, but we're making a bullish move in bear territory. And as soon as you get above the center line, then it's bull time. So yeah, anyway, that's the look at the short squeeze idea. And that pop on GameStop is really interesting. That kind of caught me off guard. GameStop moved a day earlier than anything else and put in a candle that I wasn't expecting. So I'm probably going to be trading GameStop and doing a couple more videos on that. It's going to be getting pretty interesting. Anyway, that's the thing for now, and good luck. Happy trading.